Hi, welcome to Modish Photography. My name is Mark O'Donnell and I've been a photographer for over 10 years, mostly self-taught, and I've decided to make this video not as a tutorial but to explain my take on photo editing, but mainly skin editing. Firstly, my philosophy on skin editing is that if you lose what the subject looks like, you've gone too far. I don't believe in lengthening legs or moving body parts around and aligning eyes, etc. I think people should be pretty much as they are, with the exception of some skin editing, which I'll go into a bit more detail. I feel that everyone has an image of themselves in their minds, sometimes good, sometimes not so good, and I try to capture and edit to what I believe the good is. For example, if I shot an image in my studio, which is a controlled environment, the image will come out sharp and the lighting can make those little imperfections quite pronounced and obvious. So if that's the case, I edit the images to enhance the good features while reducing the less wanted features and keep a balance in the image. Also, if the client has scars or something along those lines, those are things that are usually not what your mind thinks about when it pictures itself. Unless of course you're photographing Scarface, in which case that's part of who they are. Some photographers edit skin to the point where it has a really shiny surface like a plastic look, and even some models I've worked with have actually requested that look because some magazines have that look in their images. So that's great if people want that look, because I can certainly do that. But if it's left up to me, I will almost always go for a balance. With a fair bit of talk in the media lately on how photoshopping images gives an unreal expectations on young people, I agree to a point. But having the experience I have, I've come to ponder some things. Back in the day, and I'll use Marilyn Monroe as an example, she was naturally beautiful, and a lot of the other top film stars of that time were too. And I would say beauty in those times were harder to fake, as there being no Photoshop type things to use. So I'm betting there were a ton of talented actors and actresses that were amazing at their craft, but sadly didn't match up to the natural beauty of actresses like Marilyn Monroe and were overlooked. And I think that would have been the same with models in those times too. Now with Photoshop and other editing programs, it does allow models that would have been previously overlooked for a modeling job to be able to find work, meaning if there were no options to edit skin or modify the body in some way, models that were not naturally amazing would not get as much work. But at the same time, I understand that it's the use of Photoshop that has changed the social standard of what beauty is, so I'm a little conflicted. Basically, I'm happy with the way I edit my portraits, and my clients are happy as well. I don't want to edit too far where they lose their identity. Let's move on from that now and on to how I edit. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty much self-taught, and when you watch the video you might find that you have a better way of editing, or you might think I'm doing it wrong, and that's okay, because there's many different ways to do it, and the way I do it works for me. Do I use plugins? Yes, I do. I use a few plugins, and in my defense they are things that I can do without using the plugins. It just speeds up the process, and in some cases I do it manually anyway if I don't like the way the plugin has done it. Also, you always need to tweak what the plugin has done to meet the needs of the image. Usually for skin I'll use a heal tool, then apply a skin softening plugin over the top. But if you let it do it at once, it sucks. So you need to change things a little, but it's still faster than doing it other ways for me. I also use a contrast plugin, which does a lot of the subtle changes I need all in one go, including changes to highlights, which saves time. And sometimes I use a cross-processing plugin, but that can also be done using the color channel curves. Because I work full-time in my job, I use plugins to speed up my photography work, but I can't stress enough that you can't rely on plugins to get it right, because it's not Instagram. You don't pick an effect and keep it at that. You need to modify it and change it to what you need and what the client needs. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. The video is for people curious on how I edit my images, also my take on the way portraits are edited, and for potential clients to see what happens in the editing process when it comes to portraits. I'll be making more videos and posting them on my website soon, so check back for more updates. See ya! Okay, what you'll see is a series of 3 photos that I edit. They will span a few years, so you might see a style change. But I think these shots will give a good range to show editing as how I do it. And you'll probably notice that each photo is edited differently, as it's all down to how you feel at the time of the edit.